November 15th, 2024 was my mom's second birthday that I lived through since she died. And like last year, I decided to write her a letter, which I will be sharing with you today. I also decided to start a ritual for my mom's birthday where every year I would write her a letter just expressing kind of how I was feeling about the fact that she was no longer here. I will also be sharing one of my favorite recipes that my mom taught me, featuring none other than the woman herself. So stay tuned for that. For those of you that are new, my name is Kirsten, and I spend my days processing grief and healing while staying kind, cozy, and courageous. It seemed fitting to make this video during the holiday season because for me, experiencing the holiday season without mom adds an extra measure of pain. She loved Christmas, and I try my best to fill our winter time with celebrations of Christmas, but it's so glaringly obvious that her presence is missed, and that's a reality I just can't escape. Mom's birthday this year was unexpectedly awful. I think I was hoping it would be easier than last year. As much as I try to grieve at my own pace, I feel like the world has very clear ideas of what grief is supposed to look like and how long it's supposed to take to be able to function again. And on some level, I probably bought into that. Mom died a year and a half ago, but if I'm being honest, it doesn't feel like I'm functioning any better than the day I found out my mom died. Like I'm still desperately trying to make the enormity of the reality that she died fit into my brain. A year and a half can seem like a long time, and in some ways it is. I mean, I got pregnant and birthed a baby and have kept the baby alive for almost 6 months. But when it comes to grief, time doesn't work the same way. It's like my relationship to time has changed. I've heard that eventually my understanding of time will get closer to the world's sense of time, but I don't feel that yet. Before I share the letter I wrote Mom, I wanted to have a little bit of a chat about something that's been on my mind a lot lately. I want to talk about the ways that grief is sometimes weaponized to guilt people into having relationships that they otherwise wouldn't want. After my mom died, people jumped in real quick to try to convince me to have relationships with people that I had distanced myself from or cut off. I heard a lot of, you never know what tomorrow might bring, and what if they die too? And you should be grateful for the time you still have left with them. And now that your mom's gone, how many people do you actually have left? And your mom would have wanted you to have a relationship with them. Yes, these are all things that people actually said to me. And yes, they all happened within a month of my mom dying. Here are my thoughts. Yes, it is true that we never know what tomorrow might bring. But that includes us dying. My mom's death reminded me that everybody's life on this earth is numbered, including mine. And I'm not interested in spending the days I have left on this earth on people that do not deserve my time and my energy. I owe it to myself to love myself. And if loving others comes at the expense of loving myself, then maybe those aren't people that deserve my love. This is a truth that's lived in my heart for a few years now. And it was awakened when I found my mom's journal, actually. I made a video introducing this journal on my mom's last birthday. I was just sorting through her stuff and I came across this book. This is actually my mom's journal that I found when I was sorting through her things, and only half of it is used, so I decided to use the other half for my letters. And I opened it, and at the top of the page was the question, who's got my back? And then there was a list. There was my name, then there was a line, and then there were a list of names of my mom's closest friends, people she felt like she could trust. And seeing that list, I felt a rush of so many different emotions, mostly because I knew what that line meant. Just looking at that list, I knew that my mom felt that I could support her in ways that other people couldn't, and that at the end of the day, the person who has her back the most is me. I felt really sad because my mom has had so many people's backs throughout her life. My mom would often say that she was born in the wrong generation because she often had politics that people in her generation did not share. My mom often thought about oppression and how the people who were the most oppressed were often the least supported. And so it was really important to her to support people who she felt were oppressed. And I know that isn't something that a lot of people in her generation understood. Seeing that list also made me feel so validated because at the end of the day, that's all I really wanted, my mom to feel supported. And the fact that I was able to give that to her, it just makes me so proud of all the decisions I made in my life to support her. Made me feel really validated in terms of how I choose to live my life. I talked a little bit about this in my birthday video last year, but when I hit my 20s, started to set some real boundaries. I distanced myself from some people. I completely cut off relationships from people that I felt weren't treating others with the respect, love, and care that they deserve. And people who I've had multiple conversations with, people who never received the feedback that I gave. I decided if people weren't willing to change, then I wasn't willing to give them my time or energy anymore. I'm the kind of person where if somebody treats other people disrespectfully, even if they treat me respectfully, I'm not okay with it. I think if people treat anybody with disrespect, I think if people are unloving to anybody, it says a lot about who they are as a person. I am so thoughtful and I'm so intentional about the way that I exist. I want to make sure that the people around me match that. When I decided to distance myself from people and cut myself off from people, there were a lot of opinions. People thought I was selfish. People thought I was ungrateful. People thought that I was unkind. As weird as it sounds, it's really uncommon for people to end relationships with those who are harmful. But I did. And despite other people's opinions, I didn't let it sway my decisions. I felt that I made those decisions after a lot of thought. Those decisions weren't made lightly, and I felt that those decisions reflected my values as a person. And so to see in my mom's journal that she felt supported by me, it just reminded me to always trust my intuition. When I decide to end a relationship with somebody because they don't treat other people well, somebody else is watching, somebody else is paying attention, somebody else is taking note that I am somebody that can be trusted, that I'm a person to put my foot down when somebody is harming somebody else. So if anybody needs support because they're being harmed, they know they can come to me. This is your sign to trust your intuition. If there is something in you telling you that somebody else is causing harm and that does not sit right with you, you're allowed to end that relationship. You're allowed to talk things through if you feel like that will get you somewhere. But if you don't feel like that's going to change anything, you're allowed to distance yourself from this person. I know people will say forgiveness is important. No, if somebody's not willing to change, they do not deserve my forgiveness. And there's this idea that if I don't forgive, I'm not going to be at peace. I'm extremely at peace. I am more peaceful than I ever was. I'm definitely more peaceful than those years that I spent convincing other people to be better and not succeeding. That was me not being at peace. I cannot get over the fact that my baby is sleeping in the other room and I'm here and everything's fine. She just started sleeping in the room without us there. So, huge step. Very, very big step. I'm so glad to be drinking coffee from this mug. My mom had this mug and it says morning hug in a mug. And whenever we drink from it, I feel so comforted. My mother and I, neither of us were morning people, and we really needed that hug in the morning to feel like we were gonna be okay. I loved that my mom maintained not being a morning person throughout her life, even when she had kids. Like, we would literally wake her up before school. I think my baby might have to do that for me. We'll see. November 17th, 2024. Happy birthday, Mom. This is the second birthday I'm living through without you. And I thought I could fill it with joy, but in between moments of joy was inescapable sadness. Will it always be like this? Kaya and I danced to songs that reminded me of you in the morning, and we made art in the afternoon, and I cozied up with a cup of Horlicks and watched a Christmas movie in the evening, and my heart felt empty, and my body felt tight, and my mind felt foggy, and my spirit felt heavy. And all I could think about was how much I wish you were here. Do you remember when we'd come home from parties at like 4 a.m. and we'd get into the backseat of the car to cuddle and keep each other warm against the desert chill? I often think about those warm embraces and how we protected each other, how we always protected each other. This is the first of your birthdays that Kaya is in the world. I birthed a daughter, Mom. Of course I did. I've had her for almost 5 months now, and every day has been a blessing. Every day I look at her and I wonder how I created such a beautiful being. Women's bodies are extraordinary, and I will never understand them. Did you ever look at me and wonder the same? I know we plan to raise children together, and I won't act like I wasn't terrified to do it without you. But like all things in life, I don't feel like I'm doing it without you. Somehow, I always know how to move through moments of fear and anxiety, and I know it's because I have you guiding me through them. I catch myself talking to Kaya the way you used to talk to me, and letting go of things that aren't worth my time and energy, just as you would have told me to do so. I notice that I intuitively have the answers, only because you raised me to ask the right questions. As far apart as you are in some ways, you're right here. If I'm being honest, you're everywhere. Kaya is the answer to the prayers I never knew I was making. She is the gift to help guide me as I navigate my grief as authentically as I possibly can. She makes me feel closer to you as her mother, your daughter, and the connection between the two of you. Isn't she magical? And yet, she's also as real as they come. You would have loved her, Mom. And she would have loved you. Of all the elders I wanted her to grow up with, you were the top of my list. For her and for you. You both deserve to be loved by each other. As someone who has experienced both of your love, I hate that the two of you are missing out. I want more for you too. Being in the middle, I'm so acutely aware of the fire each of you carries within you, and I wish your fires existed together, fire with fire. Imagine the light y'all would have created in this world. I want to do right by you, Mom. I want your granddaughter to know you. I want her to join in on your birthday celebrations every year. I want her to feel your spirit, the energy of your life on this earth, through everything and everyone you touched. I want you to feel as wherever you are, celebrating the life you lived and the love you gave. I want you to feel peace, no matter the unfinished parts you left behind. You are a whole person who lived a full life. Is there anything more that one could wish for during their time on earth? Love always, your baby girl. One of my mom's love languages was making dessert for her community. So I wanted to share a recipe that was gifted to my mom, one that was very dear to her, one that she loved making for others, one that I now love making for my community. It's so easy, just 5 ingredients, takes only 15 minutes of active prep, and is sure to be a crowd pleaser. Here is Antoinette's malai kulfi. Side note, I fully made up the proportions because my mother never had a recipe for anything. You start by adding a pinch of saffron to 2 ice cubes and setting it aside. The saffron will have bloomed by the time the ice has fully melted. In the meantime, crush 1/3 cup of pistachios and then toast them in a pan over medium heat. While they're toasting, crush 4 pods of cardamom. Once the skins crack open, you can discard them and crush the insides. The cardamom should be fine enough to pass through a sieve. In a bowl, mix 1 can of condensed milk to 2 cans of whipping cream. We use the condensed milk can to measure the whipping cream. Add in the bloomed saffron and cardamom and whisk until fully mixed. Pour this mixture into a freezer-safe dish and then top with the toasted pistachios. Freeze overnight and enjoy the next day.
Do you think they're gonna taste the pistachio? No, Kirsten. Yeah. But I'm sure you'd want to try them both just to see. I'm so excited. So we're having this for breakfast. Put it in the freezer the entire night. Ice cream for breakfast is a really good decision. We would recommend. Well, it's so creamy. So does it satisfy all your cravings, Kirsten?
Yes!
I'm not a big fan of cardamom.
What?
Well,
Cardamon's your favorite spice.
no, mine's cinnamon. Yeah. When I first got married and didn't know how to cook at all.
Okay, she always says this, but there's nothing she's ever made in my life that hasn't tasted good, so...
Because you were born a few years later,
Yeah, I guess that's
so,
true.
I didn't even know how to boil rice. The first time I made rice, I added cold water to the already boiling rice and it went like pudding. And I almost... And the reason I never learned how to cook is because when I was young, I was always told, you know, you have to learn how to cook. You're a girl and one day you'll be married. And it was just like, why should I learn to cook? And just because I had to get married.
Yeah.
I kind of sometimes regret that because I love cooking. I really enjoy it.
And you have such good cooks in your family.
My grandmother was a brilliant cook. She never followed a recipe. She just like threw things into a pot.
And my mom is exactly like that.
No.
You definitely have Nana's gene. Grandma says it too. That's my mom. Yeah, says it too.
So I think that also comes from cooking a lot and experience.
So you were saying
yes, I was in Nairobi and we met a few families who were really kind to us and Antoinette was such a brilliant cook. I think it was for her 25th wedding anniversary or birthday, like she made 25 dishes and like 25 desserts or something like that.
Herself?
Yeah, herself. I mean, she was like just so brilliant. And she was very kind and very not everyone is generous with sharing recipes. So Antoinette shared this recipe, and it's so easy.
So easy.
Especially for someone who's never cooked before. You dump everything in, stir it up, and you don't even need very fancy instruments.
No, and the ingredients, go to any Indian store, ask the storekeeper about these ingredients. Definitely every single thing that we used here.
Thank you so much for tuning in for this video. If you're looking for more videos about grief, you can check out these ones on the screen. If this video was a little heavy, please make time to decompress today. Remember, honoring our bodies is one of the most important practices when living with grief. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.